bitches go.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Daniel Jacobs moving up to 168, and he will face Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., but I have some questions about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, DAZN had a press conference announcing Daniel Jacobs moving up to the super middleweight division 168. After the Canelo lost his last fight in May, he noted that he would be moving up because making the weight was getting increasingly harder. And now he's fighting Chavez Jr. And some weird things. Friday, December 20th, so it's fights on a Friday. And initially this fight was going to take place in New York, and then they announced it was going to take place on the West Coast. Now it's still taking place on the West Coast, but now it's going to be in Arizona instead of Vegas. Initially it was supposed to be in Vegas, but the reason it's not in Vegas is because per the clean boxing program, the VADA drug testers went to the wildcard gym in order to drug test Chavez Jr. And for some reason or another, he sent them packing without them collecting a sample. So they went, filed the paperwork, said, hey, we made an attempt to collect blood or urine or both or whatever, and he refused. So once they submitted their paperwork, the site or the state of the site where this fight was slated to take place, the state of Nevada, says Chavez Jr. is suspended as a result. He says he's suspended. He has a hearing on November 20th to discuss why you would turn the VADA people away when they came up to do a random blood and urine samples. According to Chavez Jr., he's done reports since, said the guy was being rude or wouldn't confirm that he worked for VADA, which sounds ridiculous. He said he had no ID. Listen, I've been at boxing gyms when VADA has come, or whoever they were, and drug tests had taken place, and there was more than one person. I haven't seen a situation where they just send one person, and if they did send a one person where they don't have any kind of identifying badge, or any indication that they work for VADA, like a VADA polo or nothing, where they just, you don't know who they are, and they just show up in plain street clothes and say, hey, I got these needles, let me stick these needles in you and take your blood. And there's always this thing called the phone. iPhone 11's out, 11 Pro Max, where if there's a discrepancy, I'm sure there's someone from VADA or Nevada State Athletic Commission or some way to rectify the situation. Like, hey, you need to send another agent. This guy is being hostile. This woman is being hostile, and I refuse to work with them. So come down. He can stay here and watch me. Come down and, send someone else or whatever the situation. Or I can't tell if he works for you, and I don't want to just waste my time with some stranger who's coming to collect my blood. But nonetheless, now to circumvent this, they have just moved it to a different state. Weird thing, this is a bad look for DAZN, bad look for Rematch Room, and a bad look for Chavez Jr. and Eddie Hearns. Like, what part of the game is that where a person is suspended in one state where you publicly intended to put the fight? Because of a situation like this, Chavez Jr. has failed 2 drug tests in the past, and it's just not a good look. I had an old teacher in grade school. She said, perception is reality. So the fact that he's failed 2 drug tests, people consider him to have discipline issues, and this whole fiasco happened with the collection not taking place. And then one of the most laughable things about Chavez Jr.'s reply is after they left and he sent them packing, he said, oh, he made a statement and he said, oh, they can come collect my sample right now then, which is retarded and ridiculous because it defeats the whole purpose of a random blood and urine test. What would be the point of somebody leaving sight of an athlete? They pop up on you for a random blood and urine test. They pop up, you sent them packing, and then you say, oh, come back tomorrow. You could test me right now. Bro, that gives fighters, I'm not saying, I don't know what Chavez does, but that defeats the whole purpose because you could easily use masking agents and flush out your system in between time, in the meantime. So again, that's why they pop up on you randomly. So you don't know when they're coming. They could come Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. They can come all week if they want. So you don't know when that's how they catch people, because you don't know when to cycle on or off, flush things out of your system. So if you have trace elements or remnants in your system, then obviously the random tests, if it's still in your system and you haven't cleansed, then you're gonna get caught. So Chavez Jr. saying, hey, come back later, or come back today, now come back, or come back, that makes it actually look worse to me, because again, it defeats the whole purpose of the random test. That's like you get in class and then the bell rings and class is about to commence and the teacher says pop quiz. We're having a pop quiz. Everybody take out your pencils, close your book bags, close your books, put your books away, pop quiz. It's catching you by surprise. But if they say, hey, next week we're doing a pop quiz on Monday at the beginning of class, then, what's the point of a pop quiz if you have fair warning? Anyway, just look at the comments. This is a bit of a disgrace of a fight. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is a joke. Numerous issues. Jacob still in his prime or close to it in world class. Total mismatch in Phoenix. Chavez ain't a true boxer, dedicated boxer. He's just picking up a check. Who's making book on this fight? What up? Where's Jacobs Rosado? Chavez has been shot for years. He turns up for an annual paycheck. Thumbs down. Look at Junior gonna get manhandled. Fight Boo Boo. What the? He's saying fight Demetrius Andrade. Is this still happening? I thought Chavez Jr. got suspended. Junior has no business in the ring with Denny. Here's what they think about you. So I knew what. Look. Trash. Look. Wow. They put that butt. Joey. Bro, here's what they think about you. So this is just a bad look for DAZN. And to make that even more messed up, the WBC just came out with this new rule where you can have more clenbuterol in your system to compensate for potential tainted meat, contaminated meat. And there's a fighter who failed a drug test who's going to be on this card as well. Julio Cesar Martinez, who signed to Matchroom. So he failed a drug test with clenbuterol, and the WBC just changed their rule, and he's going to be on this card from what I'm understanding. So that don't look good. Eddie Hearn has a card where one guy who's not his fighter, I think he's an Al Heyman fighter, but whatever, Chavez Jr., this is the guy you selected out of everybody for Jacobs to fight. You're picking Chavez Jr. because of his name, despite the fact that he lost to Canelo embarrassingly and looked horrible in that fight. And he's only fought one time since. The Canelo fight was a while ago, before the first Golovkin fight. If you guys remember, immediately after the Chavez Jr. fight, Golovkin got in the ring with Canelo. So it's been a while. Before the Golovkin-Canelo 1 fight, that's the fight right before Canelo fought Golovkin. So it's been a while since Chavez Jr. fought a name, and the last time he fought a name was Canelo, and he lost every single round. And then he fought one fight in Mexico. He was in Monterrey, Mexico, and he got a knockout against an unheard of person. And this is the fight you make. So he has this whole, not cleared to fight in one state state of Nevada pending a hearing, which now, since he's fighting in Phoenix, Arizona, a whole different jurisdiction, maybe he doesn't even go to the hearing at this point. Maybe just because he's going to be in training camp, and boxing got to do something if we ever plan on becoming the number one sport, because I thought there was something in place where you can't get cleared in one state but banned in another. Like we'll follow different jurisdiction, like even though it's a different jurisdiction, a different athletic commission, that we're going to uphold the sentence, or you have to take care of your issues in one state before we clear you. But apparently they found some way around it. But the funny thing is this, but wait, there's more. You got to look at Billy Joe Saunders failed a drug test for a drug that's banned in America, but it's not banned in the UK out of competition where he was training, supposedly, right? So there was a little bit of a glitch there where you could use this particular whatever it was that he tested positive for in the UK out of competition, but you can't use it at all in America. It's banned, different rule set. And I was heavily looking forward to Demetrius Andrade versus Billy Joe Saunders, right? They did a press conference. You had Andrade dressed like a pilgrim. He was trying to mock, I don't know, he's a Quaker or Prince or something. He was dressed up like a colonist or some shit. And I was looking forward to the fight. And all of a sudden we find out, oh, Billy Joe Saunders had something. And he was saying, oh, I had nasal spray. And the whole fight got canceled. So why didn't they do in a better fight, Billy Joe Saunders versus Demetrius Andrade for the WBO belt? Why didn't they do this, what they're doing with Jacob Chavez Jr., which is a fight on a Friday and a lesser fight? If all you have to do is just cross state lines, why didn't they just take the fight from Boston, where the Billy Joe Saunders and Andrade fight was set to take place? Why don't you just take it to New York, to Atlantic City in New Jersey, take it to Vegas so the fans could still see the fight? If all you have to do is have someone suspended and can't get a license in one state, and then you just take them to a different state, that don't make sense. And I would have rather them save that fight than this fight. So new media, man. Shout out to Michael Benson. Here's confirmation. Chavez Jr. reportedly temporarily suspended from Nevada after declining a VADA drugs test, faces a November 20th hearing. Hearn previously said they were looking to take this fight to Phoenix. So, more proof of what boxing is doing recently. Look, more proof. Mike Coppinger, sources, Chavez Jr. temporarily suspended by Nevada after evading VADA collectors, blah, blah, blah. He declined drug test and he has a hearing with the commission. December 20th fight is in jeopardy. But when you're working with Eddie Hearn, you're not in jeopardy. So once again, you tell me if this looks right. You just be honest with yourself. Eddie Hearn has one guy on the card that he signed, that's signed to Canelo as well, Julio Cesar Martinez, who fell for clenbuterol. The WBC uplifts the clenbuterol standard so you can have more clenbuterol in your system. They have Chavez Jr., who's failed 2 drug tests in the past, and he's like a wanted man. He has explaining to do to Nevada, so they just move it to a different state, right? They got Dillian White with Rematch Room, and he had some secret meeting that was later exposed, and he failed a drug test, and he's talking about, I want to come back in December, and no one even knows what's going on. No one knows what's going on with the B sample, anything. So he was allowed to fight Oscar Rivas. So these are multiple examples of things that look sketch, right? And they're all under Eddie Hearn, DAZN's watch. Yet and still, you have Eddie Hearns, who is on camera crying when Patrick Day passes away. Rest in peace. Right? So he passes away, and you have Eddie Hearn, tearing up, saying, "Oh, we lost someone. I didn't really know him well, but this is so sad." But you have all these drug issues, we'll say, surrounding various fights on your fight cards. You know, oh, Chavez Jr. can't get cleared in Nevada. Why don't you keep the fight in Nevada? Because he has explaining to do and he can't get cleared in Nevada. So, okay, we'll just move it to Arizona. Then the Cesar Martinez, clenbuterol, you know, the standard just changes with the WBC conveniently. Then the Dillian White situation, you know, there's no way this could be a good look. You know, just from a perception place, this is a horrible look for DAZN. Horrible. Why would, like, who does this? You know, it's like boxing just is the wild, wild west, constantly changing the rules, you know, finding new things to mess up. I'm trying to find this for y'all. He might have deleted it because it's not coming up, but I have it screenshotted. But either way, he had some tweets. Let me see if I can find it. He might have deleted it, like I said. It was right before the Canelo fight. He works for DAZN, right? And he was saying, wow, maybe he did delete it. See? He basically was saying that, you know what? I gotta find this. I got a video where it showed, like, see, that's the thing with new media. Even if tweets are deleted, we already have the evidence. I already have a video, and that looks worse if the tweets were deleted. But anyway, Chris Mannix, and I have a video, and I will find what video that's on. But anyway, Chris Mannix said that Canelo and Chavez and Jacobs, they're putting Gabe Rosado on the card. Right? Look. Oh, here it is. Never mind. I thought he deleted it. So look, he works for DAZN. Jacobs is signed per a source familiar with the deal. Originally slated for Vegas, the fight was moved to Phoenix on December 20th after Chavez was suspended by the Nevada Commission for refusing a drug test. They have a presser in LA on Friday. Right? So that's 3 different sources confirming this whole story. 3 different reporters. I told you. Fight will be contested at 168. Gabe Rosado will be on standby if there's an issue with the notoriously unreliable Chavez Jr. before the fight. Chavez has been training again, right? So my thing is this. If you have to do all, like, why does DAZN want to make this particular fight so bad, but they don't even have the drug avoidance of taking the collection? That's its own issue. I've already talked about that at the beginning of this video. But my thing is this. You have a DAZN employee who broke the story as well, Chris Mannix, and he's saying the fight's at 168. They don't even feel comfortable, and they've had so many mishaps and pullouts and drug test fails. They don't feel comfortable that Chavez Jr., as you can see, he'll be on standby. Gabe Rosado will be on standby because of the notoriously unreliable Chavez Jr. So my question to you is this. Why does DAZN feel it is so imperative to make this particular fight with a non-DAZN fighter who has this drug testing stuff looming, which I've already stated? He's failed drug tests in the past. And then on top of that, aside from the VADA collection fiasco, you don't even know if he can make weight 168. There's interviews with Freddie Roach right now where Freddie Roach says Chavez Jr. tried to come back to him because they trained back in the day for the Sergio Martinez fight. And he says Chavez Jr. came with a bag of money and was like, hey, I want you to train me again. And Freddie Roach says, I told him, you know, you can keep the money. You don't have to give me that much money. That's a lot of money. I want your discipline. I want you to really focus. So again, just like Chris Mannix, who works with DAZN, is saying, the world knows that Chavez Jr. has showed discipline issues. I remember on the HBO 24/7 for the Sergio Martinez fight, he woke up at 5 p.m. Like, you're about to train to fight an elite level in prime. Well, I can't. At the time, I guess you could say Martinez was in prime. Guy who knocked out Paul Williams with one single shot, you know, champion. And you're waking up at 5 p.m. doing makeshift workouts in the living room. and eating Lucky Charms, talking about some fantastical, and then your dad's trying to give you advice, and you just eating this fucking Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal, acting like you're not even paying attention. And then Chavez Jr. on the episode just ran and jumped in the pool in his chonies, right? It just seems like OD. It seems overkill that you would do all that. Why didn't you just make Jacobs versus Rosado? You know, yeah, they're both coming off a loss, but guess what? Jacobs is coming off a loss to Canelo, and Chavez Jr. has one fight against a low-level opposition in the last 2-3 years. So he's basically, in the minds of people, a lot of people don't even know he fought in Mexico against the random guy. So in the eyes of many, he's coming off of a loss to Canelo because people don't even know he fought in Mexico. It was like not even televised or anything. So he's virtually coming off of a loss to Canelo. So Canelo, you know, we got to give Canelo props for that, because Canelo, this is Canelo's leftovers card, you know. And I know Jacobs is, you know, he's a quality fighter. So I don't mean to say it in a disrespectful way, because he's still in prime. But you get what I'm saying. That's what people say when a fighter loses to another fighter. These are two guys that Canelo has already beat. You get what I'm saying? So just a weird move from DAZN. I think Jacobs deserves a quality fight. I don't know if he wants personally to fight Caleb Smith coming off a loss, but that would be a great fight. I know a fight he's talked about even at 160 with the guy who's at 160 who just recently signed to Eddie Hearn was Billy Joe Saunders. But they have Billy Joe Saunders fighting on this little kid's card, the YouTube card or whatever, against some unknown guy. Why didn't you make Saunders? That would be a great close to the year. So DAZN is starting to unravel and look a bit desperate for my taste, because I remember distinctly people were saying, oh, Broner's foolish, Wilder's foolish, Charlo, if he wants to fight all the middleweights outside of himself or with DAZN, so Charlo got to sign. But guess what? They're not making the best fights in the divisions where they have the most people, where they could make some great fights. We're not seeing Demetrius Andrade, Billy Joe Saunders, which could easily be rescheduled now that they're both with Eddie Hearn. We're not seeing Jacobs versus Caleb Smith or Billy Joe Saunders, right? Andrade and Jacobs, I don't think they're going to fight because they're friends, you know, but there's still other ways to mix and match them. And this is what you put together. So what happened to all that? Oh, Charlo should sign to DAZN because he would be in the mix with all the fights. The only significant fight that they made from 160 to 68, Caleb Smith is fighting John Ryder. He previously fought against, he's a super middleweight, previously fought against a middleweight, Hassan Indam, who David Lemieux and Peter Quillen been beat and knocked down 10 times between the two of them, right? So the only real significant fight they made at 160 or 68, with all the names that they have, is Canelo versus Jacobs, you know? And I think Jacobs, as a quality fighter, deserves better than this, you know? If it's a paycheck for him, that's good for him, but I don't see why they're so dependent on Chavez Jr. in this situation. It's a bad look with the VADA, skipping the VADA stuff and then moving it to another state. This just seems weird, and I have no idea why DAZN would do this. So again, if no one else in boxing will speak up on these issues, then leave it to me, New Media. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.